Hello and welcome to this Crystallize live stream. This is the fourth in our subscription masterclass series. Today we're lucky. We have with us Sebastian, I would say all the way from San Francisco.
Yes, in the morning for me.
Yeah, and in the night, and if you can do math, you understand that this is a pre-recorded session. But anyhow, the goal of today is to talk about our road towards building this subscription commerce accelerator for Crystallize. So previously in the three first streams, Didrik and I did kind of the configuration of Crystallize, setting up the subscription plans, setting up the subscription products. We did the content modeling. We also went through, the metered subscription, multi-market, etc. And we discussed also in depth the renewals, billing, and orchestration. So if you didn't get that, watch those other streams. They're available, of course. And basically, the goal from this that we did now over the Christmas holidays, I mean, we didn't do it exactly then. We did it before and after. But since we had the last stream, is actually to start building an accelerator, so a front-end experience for this full subscription round trip, so to speak. I guess that's where we left it off, and then basically where we started, which I think is a good approach. We started with the design. So this is all kudos to Didrik that has done the UI design for this process. But now, Sebastian, now we've done the conceptual, we've done the data modeling, we have done we've done the plumbing on the Crystallize side. And before we start coding, what's our process? Where did we go?
Yeah, exactly. So as you mentioned, you did more than usual, actually, right? Because obviously we know what we're doing, but this would be the requirement, right? In a normal project, usually the customer or the client, they will end up with this kind of screen where, okay, this is what I want. And then we do the content modeling with them, or they can do it themselves. But usually we are not so far away. And if you guys are doing this one day, we can always help you to tweak the content modeling, right? Because it's good to have another set of eyes on the content modeling. So usually, yes, it will start with that. And when this is all clear that we have settled the wording, the business logic, then design, right? So here, that would be the home page. So it's very clear to understand that, well, I can arrive on this page, and this would be an interaction that we will have with client, right? Or you guys would have with your client. But okay, what does that mean when I click on buy now? That would be a question.
Exactly.
Probably it means that I need to subscribe to something, to this subscription. But should I be logged in? Should I have an account? Do we do guest checkout? Or, all those questions are questions that are usually coming up for this one.
And also on the presentation and the design here, we have made decisions, right? This is not the only way to set this up, but this is what we wanted to create as a very generic example for a subscription-based commerce on top of Crystallize.
Yeah. So to give you a little bit more about those discussion and decision that we've had with Board and Didrik, it's like, okay, we arrive on this homepage, we may or may not be logged in. When you click on buy now, if you are logged in, if you're not, you're gonna have to log in, right? And once you are log in, you're gonna see the checkout process, which will be very, very simple in this project. There is no concept of cart here because you pick a subscription and you're done. And then we pay.
And this is typically designed for, subscription type businesses. It's not like because you have cases where you want to add 5 books and 3 digital subscription to courses, for example. So that's a different approach, but still the same principles apply here, and the flow also applies.
Yeah, definitely. Then we pay. Here it's fake. Huh? We discussed this. We fake the payment because again the goal of this live stream is to show you how simple it is to use a subscription system. So we're going to fake the payment, create the subscription contract as we name it in Crystallize, manage the order. We're going to show you how we manage the charge and update the payment in the order, faking the payment system. And then pretty much is thank you page. You are subscribed. And then, of course, because you can go to your account to see what's going on, where you will be able to, to see the current subscription that you have and the orders. How many orders, right? Because every time it's a subscription system, right? On every renew, we're going to get a new order because, well, as a shop, we want to charge the client.
And again, a subscription contract is basically an agreement for an order in the future on an agreed upon price, right? So that's so this looks super simple. Of course, there's details and things to it, but it's basically the thinking is to have something that you can plug into your existing front-end ecosystem to create a sign up to your product or your services or whatever type of business you're running. So then previously we've done several boilerplates. We've done Remix, we've done Svelte, we've done Next.js. We start with the flame war, or what's the process there?
Yeah, so when we're good with the requirement, then usually you guys will have to figure out the technical stack. And for this one, we've made also decision. Again, you can build that with Remix or React Router v7 now. It could be Astro, it could be Next.js. We would recommend, because it's e-commerce, a framework where you have server-side rendering for many reasons, and we have a blog post and other videos on that. Today, we're going to do that with Next.js 15 because we wanted to experiment the partial pre-rendering, PPR, which is experimental and which is very nice to handle async component and streaming. So we'll discuss a little bit about that. So the tech stack will be Next.js, the last version. Then usually what we do is we look at the library that we need. Of course, when it's front end, well, we pick the component and the library that we want. We have Tailwind in here for the CSS. In terms of library, we are going to use obviously the JS API client of Crystallize to streamline and simplify a lot of query call. And I want to say that it's not accelerating the API call, which are already fast. It's just developer experience here. The JS API client only wrap the query, so it's simpler for you to do the call. So this is what we do. React.js component to display crystallized images or video, rich text component. Oops, did you see that? Okay, my screen just went off. It's fine. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then we talk with the team usually with about code organization, how we are going to structure the code and what do we need. And I think that might be the next step here. It's in terms of code and in terms of development, what are the queries that we need? Usually we split that between query and mutation, right? What do we need to get? What do we need to mutate? So if we look at this page, and this is what we're going to do for the 4 or 5 pages that we have, it's what do we need here? Well, we need to build the home page, which means that we need to fetch the product and the SKU and the subscription attached to that, which, as you probably did on the previous stream, that subscription plan on an SKU, you can actually set up the pricing, set up the catalog. So we're going to fetch this. Then we have a button here to subscribe, which is probably, we'll see, a mutation. If we talk about Next.js, it's going to be an action. It's going to mutate something. Only if we are logged in. So we need to have a notification mechanism. where we probably need to get the user information for the My Account page. And on the My Account page, we probably also need to fetch the subscription of the user, which is going to be a customer for this example. Of course, you can use many other things, many other systems to do authentication and my user, right? We can fetch the order, we can fetch the subscription. So those are going to be queries. And there is one missing part here, which is invisible, which is webhooks, right? So of course, when we're talking about subscription, we're talking about stuff that's happening behind the scene. Crystallize is taking care of that for you. You don't have to build an cron job to renew that. You don't have to rely on the payment system for the recurring event. Crystallize is going to fire a webhook to your service API, so you can actually take charge. And it's a double sense, right? You can take charge of what's happening, which means charging the user.
And of course, the architecture here, it means that you can have different contracts with different payment services. So you can have B2B type payment, B2C. You can have different payment services for different markets, and Crystallize will orchestrate all in the same cycle. So it allows you to really get control over your subscription business.
Yeah, definitely. And we are not even talking about metering here, which will be a topic for another live stream, right? But on a subscription contract with Crystallize, you can also track usage.
Yeah.
Which will...
And so this will be the first stream on this boilerplate. We will do more. So we will add on functionality and go into depth into more edge cases. But today it's a happy day, so we'll do happy path. Right?
Definitely. Yep.
So
it is
do
going to
you
be
want
happy
to try to share your screen again, Mr. Sebastian?
I'm not sharing anymore?
No.
This is when I lost the presents.
And then we can dive into some stuff, right? Okay, so
I was not sharing. Yeah. So that would be the login page. That would be the thank you page. That would be the My Account page, right? So I definitely thought I was sharing.
No, you shared that, but just after that, stop sharing that.
Okay.
So, but that's good. We've now discussed kind of the strategy, the approach, and what we've done. And what's next?
Next, it's coding time, right? So we have many things to do and to discuss, but we're going to go step by step, right? And Bob, please tell me if the sharing is stopping again for any kind of weird reason. So before anything else, let's have a look very quickly at the code organization here, so you can follow a little bit better. We prepared the project. We're not going to run it right now because the goal is to learn how to do it and to have a kind of walk through the boilerplate. So this is plain Next.js project with a little bit of fancy stuff like Creature and ESLint, some configuration. We are using PNPM and Tailwind, and obviously TypeScript. Nothing really related to Crystallize here, so I'm going very fast. But Bob, let me know if something isn't clear. We can just pause and go into detail in here. I'm going to come back on the webhook folder here after. In terms of source code, well, if you know Next.js, you can recognize a little bit of that. We have the app folder. We are using not the page, the app router, so it's server-side rendering first. So we have the different pages that we've seen in the Figma. So the login page, logout, route, another page. Magic link will be for authentication. We're going to go back on that. The checkout page, the My subscription page, the home page. The home page, sorry, it's this one. And this one, we're not even using it. It's because on the home page, we display 3 different kind of two products actually with each 3 SKU, but you could go and send the user to a specific product. But that would be this page. That's why you have a slug here. But we are just going to look at the home page here. So this is very standard Next.js organization here. What we're trying to do all the time in our project, in our boilerplate, is to decouple a little bit the framework with the code. So if one day you change framework, or if one day you want to reorganize a little bit your code, or you want to upgrade the framework, it's simpler. That's why those pages, they are not doing too much, mainly UI, and the backend stuff that you can now do in Next.js are usually externalized inside the domain and core folder. Long story short, before to go into this one, app, framework related, component, just a React component that could work with any framework. So here we see the currency, how to display an order, how to display a period, etc. All the concept, all the UI that we want to render, those are inside the component folder. And then we have the core. Here it's everything that is kind of connected to the framework, but not really the routing. So authentication, dependency injection, and some utils. If you know the concept of domain-driven development, this would be the infrastructure folder, kind of. And then we have the domain. The domain is the business logic, where we have the interface, or the contract, or the ports, for people who know those concepts, where it's just types. Here it's just TypeScript, all the types that we need. What is a subscription choice, subscription contract intent, etc. We're going to use that, but we don't have to deep dive into this one. Most importantly, and this is what we're going to play with, it's the use case. So here again, we're trying to be very verbose in the boilerplate, so it's easy to understand. And this is actually a name almost like what we were talking about before, right? Create customer, fetch my account, fetch subscription, retrieve my data, subscribe, update payment. And we are going to look into those code because this is the heart of the boilerplate. This is where the action and the communication with Crystallize is going to take place.
Yeah, and also this boilerplate is open source. It's available on GitHub. So while we're kind of finishing it off, you will be able to access it.
Yeah, definitely. The last part is middleware here. This is a concept from Next.js to manage authentication. So we're going to talk about it very briefly, but it's there, so we have to explain. This folder, webhook, is just, we're going to discuss about webhook. We do like to have everything in the code. So this is just the webhook that we are using to create the query of the webhook that we put into Crystallize. But they are in the code. So if they change here, we know that we need to update them into Crystallize. Or you can have a process. We didn't do it here, but some of our clients, they have a process to automate all that stuff, right? They have content model as code, and the webhook can be pushed through the API when you deploy, for instance, like a database migration.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is, by the way, good practice, right? So that you don't have to click in the UI to make everything work.
Yes, exactly. Cool. So let's have a look. Let's deep dive, right?
Yep.
We do that. We start by authentication. So authentication, it's very simple for this project. What we wanted to do is just to be able to get an email, click on the link. This link would contain a token, and we verify the token. And if the token is valid, it means that it has been generated by the boilerplate, by the app. Then we get email from the token, and we create a customer inside Crystallize, right?
Exactly.
So, and then we save the token. We save the token in the cookie, so we can reuse the token if and only if we need it. That's very important. We are very we pay attention to performances, right? So when you're using Next and other framework like that, sometimes it's not clear. But as soon as you use the cookie with Next, for instance, you disable cache, right? Because if your next project needs to read it into the cookie, it cannot be cached. So be careful about that. Reading the cookie, disable the cache with Next.js. Awesome. I'm going to still click on this. Okay, so middleware. So it starts by a form where you can log in, right? So let's have a look at the app, login page, very simple. This can be cached. And we have a login or registration form. This form, and let me make it bigger, does not do too much. It's using the use action state of Next.js to make it fancy, to get the pending state directly. And we are using, again, a Next.js concept of action. We get the action that we can put directly into the form that we have here. So if I go to the login form, I put the action, and every time I will submit this form, it will go to my action with the content of the email. Redirect, we can discuss that later, but mainly this. So far, so good. The action, what does it do? This is the send magic link, right? So the action is send magic link action. We receive the form data. We create the token. And here, to make it simpler for the boilerplate, we don't really send an email. We are actually going to display the link in the UI, so we can just click on the link. Of course, don't do that on production.
Yeah, and again, this is where you would plug your actual authentication. The trick here is super useful during development, right? So you don't have to check your email every time, things like this. So we will also make this actually work with the email. But for now, this is the authentication you have. And again, put auth0 or whatever favorite authentication service that you're using in here.
Yeah. And usually what you can do also, if you can use a Docker container like Mailcatcher, and there are others, where you can actually send the email using NodeMailer or Resend or whatever, and then you can have the UI and you can check the content of the email, is it designed correctly, etc. etc.
But here, authentication is not the topic of today. So
yeah, exactly. So very quickly, you click on the link, it goes to Magic Link. Route, this is not a page, this is a route. We get the token from the URL. We decode the token. Is it valid? Yes. Then we create the cookie and we create the customer in Crystallize. And this one we can have a look because it's interesting to see. To create a customer in Crystallize, you can use the PIM API and do it, or you can use the JS API client on which you have a function create customer manager. You pass the client, and then you call the create function. And that's pretty much it. So this is 5 lines of code to create a customer inside Crystallize. If you want to know how the Crystallize client is created, this is in the documentation. I can show you here very quickly. But Crystallize client, it's like in the doc, right? And this is definitely simple, right? Tenant identifier, tenant ID, and your token, so you can write on the PIM. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So first step, creating the customer, done. Why do we have that in a try catch? It's because you have 2 ways of thinking, right? We don't want to create the customer every time the customer will log in, right? Because the process of registering and the process of login in this scenario is exactly the same, but we don't want to create a customer all the time. So what we do is we just gracefully manage the exception into this part of the code. So here, if the customer exists, that's okay. We don't have to create it anymore. All right. So that's it. That's it. No.
And the process here is that since we are going to subscribe to a subscription, so you're creating a subscription contract, you have to have somewhere to create that, and that is on the customer object in Crystallize. So that's why you have to have the authentication first and create the customer before you can do anything else. Now, if you want to have a different flow where you kind of call it a guest checkout and just have it as a normal e-commerce, like add into cart and checkout, and do everything on one page. You can still do that. You just have to organize your code a little bit different. But what we wanted to do is also to have clean steps with not too many mixed concepts.
Exactly. Yeah. And because most likely here we are using the customer object in Crystallize to manage authentication, right? Which might not always be the best option. But for this example, it's great. Okay. So now we have the authentication mechanism. Of course, the middleware here is to check on the My Subscription page, which is the only time we really need to check authentication in this project. So we do that here. Okay, let's move on to how to build the homepage now. Building the homepage is fetching the catalog. How do we fetch in the catalog? Nowadays, board, we are using this new API.
I feel like it's disco time. I don't know, but
it is disco time. This is the disco API. The disco API, it's like the catalog API, but better. It's semantic, and it's also like a search engine. You can search and facet and filter on everything, but most likely it's semantic to your content model. So this is very nice to work with it. So we are on the home page.
No, just want to mention that comparing it with, for example, the catalog API, which is great in its own way because it's in sync, whereas discovery is async. But it's about 2/3 less code that you have to write for a query.
Yeah, true.
And you can understand the query. So it's all semantic, as you will see.
Yeah. So on page, using the component, which is a React server component, it's async. This is fancy here. We can do server-side code, and we are fetching the subscription. How do we fetch the subscription? We call this query into the Discovery API. So here it's not magic. This is part of the JS API client. So we are wrapping everything for you. You just have to pass the GraphQL query. And here we go. This is the GraphQL query that says, okay, give me, sorted by position, all the product. So this means that you have a shape in Crystallize that is called product. It's semantic. Give me the path, the name, component name, which means that we have used name as an identifier in one of the components. Usually people will use title or whatever. Then the description, variant, name, SKU.
I wonder who set up that data model. I wonder who.
I don't know. Did we? No, don't. Anyway, it's pretty good and clear, right? It's just that name is a reserved identifier, right? So if you ever create a component that is named name, then we suffix it with component name. So anyway, so we fetch everything that we need in order to build this page, right? So this query is enough to build all that stuff.
And also to explain this page a little bit, if you scroll a little bit up. So the first part here where you see Super App and My Streaming Service, those are the products.
Yep.
And when you click on the product, you basically get all of the product variants, which is how it's modeled here. So you have here different plans like flat, volume, and graduated contracts, and similar that you have on the other streaming service. So this is where all of the marketing content and all the pricing and the subscription plans is all defined in Crystallize, and that's what you're fetching now with Discovery API.
Exactly. So that's just the fetch, and then the fetch is returned to the UI, and this. We're not going to deep dive into how we render the UI, right? It's basically React code. But if I go back to the home page, so we have this component. So a little trick here, if you are used to, I don't remember with Astro, but if you're using Remix, for instance, usually you would do the fetch of everything at that moment. But with a React Server component, you can actually do server-side code in deep down in the tree of your component. So here, this is server-side. Fetching the subscription. Again, we return the subscription, we pass it to the component, and the component is displaying the stuff. This is just this, right?
Yep.
So that is how we render the home page. No question? Then the next step is actually to subscribe, right? We render this, and somewhere in this rendering, we're going to have a look at this button, because this button should trigger a mutation to actually trigger what we're talking about since the beginning, a subscription contract creation. So let's have a look at that. Deep down in this component, there must be a form that called an action. So I'm going to show you the action before, subscription action. We're going to come back to that later, but this is a subscription action that we're going to use to submit the form. So let's go and find it. So I'm a new developer on the project. Homepage, subscription, fetching the subscription, displaying the subscription. Then we're going to look at that. This is rendering, component name, description. We look into the different subscription. And then we actually call the variant, which is what you're actually buying. In an e-commerce, you buy an SKU, right? So we look into those things. We display the images. Then we look into the subscription plan, the period. Remember, in Crystallize, you can have more than one period. It could be monthly, it could be yearly. So it could be different options here. So, and you can have different price variants for if you have different markets or different currencies. This is also very important. And at the end of the day, down to the tree, you have what we have called for this project subscription choice, which is the minimum information necessary to create subscription contract. A pass-through product, the plan, the period, the SKU, and the price variant. And thanks to this, we can build the form. But the form is not there yet. Here, we actually create a link to the checkout page. So the checkout page will embed the choice. And on this checkout page, because we need a little bit more, right? The checkout page, we want to get the country, the address, the postal code, and the city. So we want to have a little bit more information on the contract than just the email, just the customer. That's why we pack the choice, we send it to this checkout page, and the checkout page is actually going to call this action. Okay? So this is just a link that goes to the checkout page. The checkout page receives the choice, right? Which is this. And then let's see what it does. So we get the choice. We do validation here. This is only validation. We make sure that the choice that we have received are valid, consistent, etc., etc. We compare actually. This is just this. So validation, then we display an image, and at the end, we have this form. This form, where we pass the choice, will actually call the action. So this one is getting the subscribe action, and the subscription action will create the contract. So this is a form, as usual, with all the value that we need to pass in order to get this and create the subscription contract. Okay. Maybe I can show a little bit of UI here.
I mean, half an hour in, it's I feel we deserve that.
Okay, let's run the project. See, so this is the home page. I'm not logged in. This is the buy now. So based on what I will pick, the URL of the checkout will change. So I do buy now. I go to the checkout page. So I know what I want to buy. I need to log in here if I'm not logged in already. So let's do a live demo at crystallize.com. I log in. We have the fake stuff. We display the link. When I click on the link, I'm going to be logged in. I'm going to have a cookie, and I end up in this page. If I redo the process, I can go back to the home page now. I'm logged in. So when I click on buy now, I end up directly in the checkout page where I'm logged in, and I can write everything I want here to fill the form.
Yeah.
Then we need to check this one, which is going to be the subscribe action. And if I actually inspect this, this is where you're going to see the form and all those input hidden information, because obviously server side, I need to receive this in order to create the subscription contract. So this is what we're gonna do right now. Make sense?
Yep. I'm with you so far.
Cool. So go back to the code. We submit this to this action. So subscription action is in here. We manage the redirect. You can have a look at the code. It's not the most interesting part. What we want to make sure is to call Crystallize. So here, again, this is just the glue. This is the controller almost, the action, and the action will call the use case, the subscribe use case. So subscribe use case, it's in here, subscribe, and we receive the choice, the language, and the customer identifier. And this, finally, we're here. This is how you create a contract in Crystallize. Once again, you are using the JS API client to get the subscription contract manager. And then you can call this function, which is part of the JS API client, create subscription contract template based on variant. I don't know to you. Wow, what is this? So this here, you need to understand, creating a subscription based off the catalog is not that easy. It's not as simple as creating an order, right? Remember, if I go back to Crystallize and let's say that I buy this SKU, here, you can have different pricing, like we have here, and you have different meter variable, and the contract is just one filtered version of that, because maybe you buy in Northern corners, right? So the pricing that you have in your contract would be different than me if I buy in euro or in USD. So the contract is limited to kind of a version of what you have in the catalog, and it's defined and set up to you as a customer.
And as we discussed in previous streams, so this could be a multi-market, and you can have multiple types of subscriptions. So think of the catalog or the products in Crystallize with subscription. That's your price book. But
exactly. Yeah.
Of the price book, you have to select something. You select the monthly in euro, for example, and also you have to select if there are different plans available, right? It could be a metered version, or it could be all you can eat version, and you can have that of the same product. Like now we just have one subscription available here, but you could envision that you have one here with metering and one extra where you could do flat fee monthly or things like this, where you basically, let's say, you can pay per seat in this if it's an office rental subscription, for example, or you can have as many as you want, but at a premium price, for example. So there's a lot of flexibility here, and that's what you're saying. You have to. It's like a menu. You have to choose the starter and the main course, and decide which currency and market you're in.
Yeah, and what is also very important, I always mention that, is it does not have to be connected in terms of price. And I think it's a good moment that I can show you the UI. Here it's when you are on the customer, for instance, and okay, let's pick one that exists.
Yeah.
Let's take Jendo. When you create a subscription contract, you have to do the steps as well, the same step as I am doing in the code right now. I want to do a subscription contract of this product. Okay, which SKU? Okay, the monthly, the yearly. Let's take the monthly. Then here, I have many different options, right? You discussed in the previous live stream. But if I want to give a special price to Jane Doe, even though it's not in the price book, I can definitely say, okay, she's going to pay only 8. So this is completely decoupled, which is important.
And this is also Are there use cases for that? Yes, definitely, because you might have an online version, and let's say you're selling e-learning courses, for example. I might buy one, I buy for the retail price, but Sebastian, he's in charge of a big company, and he wants to buy for 1,000 employees. He calls in and gets a discounted price. So this is so that you can actually manage then, call it inside sales or taking manual orders or doing the negotiation. And the contract, that's what defines the subscription, the pricing. The price book is just a list price that you can choose to modify in the contract. Typically, it's the same, but that's the flexibility you have there.
Yeah. And then to answer the question, what is the subscription contract template that we get in the code? Well, I'm going to do that one more time.
Yep.
This is the subscription contract template. This is the contract, and it looks just using the information that we have in the catalog. If you want to tweak it right now, you can do it in the UI.
Yep.
In the code, it's exactly the same. You get the template, but then you can tweak everything you want. You can change the price, you can change the address, you can decide to renew at a specific moment. This is the moment where you can tweak the contract the same way you would do it in the UI. That is the subscription contract template provided by the JS API client.
Which means you can also inject your custom discounting logic or whatever you want to do in order to have some special sauce in this process.
Yeah, exactly.
As we say, you do you.
Yeah. And then you call the create, and it will create it into inside Crystallize. And that's it. Then we return the thank you page. Thank you page. So this is, so let's do it. Let's do it. So we're here, not logged in, or am I?
And also in 5 minutes, Didrik created a brand for this, Nerd Factory. We actually got the domain also, so this will be available on a Nerd Factory demo domain. So you can play with it.
Yeah. So here I do that, I pay, we create a contract. Thank you. Nice. So here there's, yeah, exactly. And now this is kind of the end for the buyer, but this is the start of the full life cycle of what could be described also as a subscription. But I would say it's more than the subscription, because we're going to talk about order now. So when I go to my account, I can see that I have a newly created subscription and I don't have order. So there's two reasons for that. First, I'm on my local, so the webhook are not fired. We're going to do it together in this episode or the next, we'll see. But let's talk first about the flow and the process. You discussed it before, so it's kind of a reminder, right, Bob?
Yeah. Definitely. And we went through the process here also using the UI. And at this point, we've gotten to the step where you have created a user customer and you have created a subscription contract on this live demo unknown user here.
Yeah, exactly.
So, which is typically the first step of the round trip. And as you said, webhooks are fired on contract create, and then you have to create an order on order.
Exactly.
Create. Yeah.
So a common mistake. Oh, okay, sorry. So do we re-explain quickly, or I think we should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We can. Yeah. Go for it.
I go for it. Okay. so a common mistake is to believe that when the subscription contract has been created, that you need to charge the clients right away, and this is not what we are recommending. So as you know, and you've seen last time in Crystallize, you can listen to events. You have a webhooks here, and you have different concern and events you can listen to. And subscription contract is one of it. But order is also one of it, of course.
Yeah.
So here, what we want to have a flow that is the leanest that you can have, I would say. So we don't want to do the same action over and over. So actually, on subscription contract created, when the contract has been created, this is when we would recommend you to create an order. And this order is going to fire another event on which you can listen. And this is on order creation that you are going to try to charge the customer, and only on order create. Why do we want to do that? Well, because in a month, when the contract is going to be renewed, what do you have to do? Well, we need to do exactly the same. We need to charge the client. But what's the trigger of charging the client? You're going to need an order. So we do exactly the same. On contract renew, we have the information about the contract. We compute the price. We create the order. That's it. Then the order webhook is going to be fired. We get the order. We try to charge the client. And I emphasize on try because we'll see in the next episode that, well, it's not enough to charge the client because it might fail. So you need to have a process to retry. And that's just going to be for the next episode, but it's important to understand. So we create an order, that order won't be paid. We're going to initiate the charge and then update the payment. Yeah. And then a retry mechanism for next time.
And also to explain also we mentioned that you selected the payment, and this would be, for example, you get the recurring payment token from Stripe and you store that in the subscription contract. Yeah. But it could also be invoicing, right? So that it actually is something that goes async. So it might be only 2 weeks after the renewal that you know that, oh, this invoice hasn't been paid, for example. So this is important to know that you can orchestrate multiple payment providers and types. The information about that should be stored in the subscription contract, and the order is the execution of creating an order or to bill for that cycle. And it could be prepaid or postpaid, as we discussed earlier. Different strategies for different organizations there.
But that's key, right? To decouple the contract from the invoicing, right? It's like in a real business, and that's why it has been built like that. You sign the paper, and then you receive an invoice, but you might be late to pay.
Exactly.
Right? So it's exactly the same concept. Yeah. So how do we do that in the code? So to recap, we just created the contract in Crystallize. So in Crystallize, we have set up the subscription webhook, right? So we have on contract created, right? Then we do. So let's edit it. So what do we need? We need the contract. So this is a query to get the contract. Query which is coming from the code here, right? So on subscription created, right? This is exactly the same.
Yep.
Then we have another webhook set up for on renew. And then we have the same for order creation. This one, we're going to discuss it next time. But for now, we're going to focus on order creation, contract creation, and contract renew. So on contract, we're getting the contract. Order, we're getting the order, right? So if I did this one, here it's getting the order.
Yep.
Okay. Also, quick note, do this. It's better than just not providing any query and doing the fetch from your service API. Crystallize can push you the data directly. You don't have just to receive the order ID and fetch it back. You can directly push it to your service API.
Yeah, but only push what you need because don't query the whole catalog and put everything in the payload. Just mentioning it.
Yeah, we've got some situation recently, indeed. Yeah, especially because you can fire a lot of events sometimes if you don't pay attention. So pay attention for yourself, but also for us. Anyway, so we have that. So what do we do on subscription? Create. Again, this is the decision we've made. If you do prepaid, postpaid, the flow can be different. For this project, we've decided that on subscription created, we're going to charge right away the amount, the base amount, right? But I think it's prepaid. Yeah. So how do we do that with Next? Well, we discussed the checkout page, the login page. Well, the logout route, we didn't discuss it, but it's cleaning the cookie. Magic link, we've seen it. Subscription page, this is the home page, just catalog. Now we can enter into those webhooks routes. So here we have 4, but we're going to again focus on 3 of them. And the first one is contract created. what do we do here? So it's a post. Next time, we'll show you how to do signature verification, which, by the way, is very important, right? Because you need to make sure that the data you receive in your service API is actually coming from Crystallize. There is a way to do it in a simple way with the JS API client as well. So don't try to do it yourself. It's done for you. You just have to put it in the code. And so what do? So here we compute the pricing. So here it's a custom logic that you guys, this cannot be generic, right? So here, just to review it very quickly, but what we do in here, it's we get the contract, we look at the metered variable, we try to get the usage, and we compute the price, and we return a bill, which is a type that we've defined, invented, and that contains the price, the currency, the period connected to this, and for each metered variable, the price and the usage. But again, this is totally up to you here. It could be simpler, but we want to show the full feature set, right? So we compute the pricing, we receive the bill, and then we create an order from this contract, with the information of the contract and the bill, right? So let's have a look at this function, which is a use case. So if I go there in the use case, what does it do here? We receive the contract and we receive the bill. Then here it's basically setting up an order in Crystallize. So we look into everything that we need. Here it's a fancy stuff. In the contract, you can actually save an address. But maybe you're not going to do that because you want to get the address of the customer. So this is just fall back on what is the billing address. Here, again, there is nothing generic here. Otherwise, it would be in the JS API client. So here you build the order, you apply the tax based on the fact that maybe you have taxes included in Crystallize or you don't. This is you. You build the order, and at the end of the day, you have an order, create order input request, which is coming from JS API client. You provide customer identifier, customer information, because you have to replicate them in the order. Remember, an order, it's a frozen in time thing that should not be altered. That's why we copy paste, because if the customer is changing name,
yeah, of course. It's a record of truth, right? So it's
exactly. There's a bug here. Good. And the address, and then the cart. And here it's kind of important also. It's here we're creating an order from a subscription contract. So you have the usual quantity, name, SKU, price, subtotal price, any other things that are kind of unusual when you're using Crystallize just for a standard shop. Here you can attach to this item the subscription contract ID. And you can mention that, okay, this item in this order, it is to charge this iteration of the contract. And then you provide the name, the unit, the start and the end, and the price for each metered variable. So if you want in the UI, you can display that, okay, client, month 5, you got charge of this base and $5 for this metered variable. This is where you save it. Right? And then the total and some metadata if we want to. And then this is coming from JS API client. You push the intent, and that's it. You have an order created in Crystallize.
Beautiful.
Okay. Then Crystallize is going to fire the order creation webhook. So same code, same logic in the code, use case, the page, order creation, route. And here we fake the payment. This is what I was talking about earlier. Here it's completely fake, right? This is where you would call Stripe or whatever payment system to create something and to charge the customer. Yeah. Here we make it fake, and then we call this function, which is in the domain, that is going to update the order. This order manager, this is JS API client. The only piece of code that I've done, it's this one. So we fake the payment. We update the order with this payment information.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, in a real world scenario here, you would actually fetch the payment information again from the subscription contract and not this fake random failing. But this is good for development and testing.
Exactly. And I'm going to go even forward further. Order creation. This is where you get the payment system, the payment information on the order that has been created from the contract or directly from the contract if you want to. But usually the update payment is not done on this webhook. It's going to be done on the webhook that you're going to receive from the payment system. Because this is the payment system that is telling you payment okay or not okay. And then you update the order. So and we update the order. That's it. End of the process. Then the user will see in his my account page the subscription contract that didn't change. Of course, it has been signed. It's the same. But then at this moment you get the order, and the order is paid or not paid. And the last step, we're going to be quick, is the renew. What's happened in 1 month. And this is the beauty. This is almost exactly the same as creation, right? Because on contract creation, we create the initial order, but on contract renew, what do? We do exactly the same. We get the contract, we get the bill, and we create an order based on the bill. And this is exactly the same function. And we go to the same process. Create order creation, order creation, payment, update order payment.
Right. And this is usually the flow that we recommend, but we do have customers that do it opposite. Create an order first, and the initial order, if that's a subscription product, they create a subscription contract, and then on renew, you just handle the renew event. So it is possible to change order of things here, but just this is the most logical way, and what we think is most flexible and makes most sense for subscription management. But again, sometimes you want to do it.
You definitely do you. And to tease a little bit on the next, even though we're going to make it run, because it's connected to what you just said, right? To tease a little bit, why do we recommend this? Is because, and you will see that in detail next time, but when the order has failed, you might want to retry from the Crystallize UI. So if you have something to drag and drop here, which is an order, it's so much simpler to manage the retry. But that is for the next episode. So what do we need to do to make it work here? And I think it's kind of cool to show it. PNP run. We are developing locally, and we are playing with webhook, right? So here, what's happening is every time I do that, it's working. Everything that I push from my local to Crystallize, it's going to be there, right? So we probably had the live demo. Okay. This guy probably have a contract. Nice, which was what we just did. But there is no order on this customer because obviously the webhook has been fired, but not back to my computer. So what I need for that, I'm using ngrok, and I'm going to do ngrok HTTP, and I want to connect it to this 3000. Then I get an endpoint that is available on the internet, and I'm just going to go in the Crystallize and change that in the webhook with you guys, and then we can run the project again, and it should work. So here, I just changed the back. I'm surprised that this URL is so short. Let's try if it's working. That should be my local project, and I should see something in the console. Yeah, it's working actually. Nice. So I need to trust ngrok. So this is okay. Update on create order. We want to update contract creation. This is where it's much better when it's automated here. I update and contract renew, edit, and I update as well. Okay. So now we are set up. Every time there is a new contract created, I will receive something on my computer. Okay? And
Got it.
actually, ngrok has this stuff. It's kind of fancy, where you can see it's like a proxy. I mean, it's like a listener. So we're going to see the request coming in here directly here, which is better. So let's do a try. Should we create a new user, or should we do that? No, we
well, just add a new subscription.
Yeah. We can do that.
Because
so
you want to have a
guys,
different one.
let's do. So okay, which one do we have? We have the volume. We're gonna pick the flat. So by
Or
now,
you can do the streaming service, or
oh yeah, we can do that. This one, boom, premium. Okay, I pay, and now I should actually do this to make it fancy. So what's gonna happen? We should see. I hope we will see stuff happening here. Oops, contract created and order created. So what's happening is Crystallize has called the webhook on subscription created. We've done some stuff, and what did we do? We created the order as I demoed before, and then we received the order to do stuff. And what did we do? We updated the payment, so we can go check this order ID in Crystallize. Actually, we can also go there. We can go check this client. Now we have a new streaming subscription. And I go back and I have this new order, which is probably connected to the streaming, my streaming premium service, order reference. And it was 50-50. So it has failed again to tease you. Then it has failed. So it is in the fail pipeline. And then we'll see next episode how to manage this process of failure. What could be interesting to do is to fire a renew. What do you think? Yeah. So I'm gonna fake fire a renew again. That you don't have to do that. If you want to do it, you can do it, but you don't necessarily have to do that. Crystallize is gonna fire this renew event on renew date, right? But I can force it using the API. Yeah? Everything you can do everything with Crystallize API. So I get the contract ID. I'm going to clear this. I'm going to open PIM. I'm going to create a new mutation where I'm going to say, okay, subscription contract renew. It's pretty complex, right? I have to do this. It's basically it. So this should fire. So this will do many things on the contract itself, right? Because it will change the renew at. The next renew date will be today plus the period of renewal. And it will also fire a webhook when this is done. So if I do that, we should see something coming here on subscription contract renew. And magically, it's not that magic, right? But subscription contract renew, compute the price, create the order, then the order has come, and we pay for this and for this. So now if I go back to Crystallize for the same customer, no more same contract, of course, but then renewal has been moved 1 month. And now we have a new order. And that's it. I can do it again. Boom. Same process. Of course, you would never do that, right? But just for the
it's a test of code, basically.
Yeah. And then if I reload that, it should be from March. Yeah. Which also leads me to tell you something. It's okay. Maybe I'm not happy with that. Maybe for some reason you want to renew, but you want to keep that date or those dates different. While you can just call the PIM and change that. You have complete control of everything. So if you want to change the renewal date, you can change it manually. And the last part is probably to go on the project and see my subscription page. So, well, nothing crazy here. Let's have a look at the code very briefly. But we're fetching the subscription and we're fetching the order, and then we display them. So that is the last part. That's my subscription page. We get access to the cookie, and we do the use case, fetch my account data. If I go to that use case, fetch my account data, what does it do? It does retrieve my data. It gets the contract that I have, and it gets the orders that I have. So 3 things in parallel, right? So retrieve me, so I know my name, my address, and everything. Retry the customer contract, and retrieve the orders.
Yeah.
And then we return it, and we actually display it in the UI. So it's, yeah.
And then it's rendered.
And then it's rendered.
It's beautiful. So this is the happy path, right? So we basically display the products, the pricing, the catalog, log in, create a user, subscribe, meaning create a subscription contract, listen to the events, create an order, listen to the event, try to charge. And then we have here in my page, you basically list all the contracts and orders that the client has. So this is the happy path that we've done now. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. Of course, it's
again, yeah. The code. I mean, what we've done in an hour, we might have been able to do it live, but it's a lot of rendering, and I believe this boilerplate is splitted enough, so it's kind of clear. If you want to do it yourself, most likely you can almost copy paste the use cases, and then the rendering you have to do it. But yeah, as you mentioned, it's the happy path, and we mentioned the partial pre-rendering at the beginning of this call with Next.js. That could be another topic, but it's basically to enable the fact that, at the top of the page, on the home page, for instance, this page is cached, but still we are able to say, hey, live demo.
Yep.
And to make it fancy to do that, Next.js has these things, partial pre-rendering. But yeah, we're going to open source this. It's not yet open source. I can do it. Should I do it right away in the live stream? Is it fancy to do that?
Yeah, you can make it live. Do it live.
Change visibility, change to public. I want to make this public. Yeah, I agree.
Learn factory boilerplate.
Boom. It's okay. So much security, which is good. There we go. This is open, so you can go and check this. And we're going to still continue to work on it. You're welcome to do pull request, by the way, if you want to add stuff, right? So.
And also join us in the community Slack. We're there to discuss, take wishes, and basically recommendations. What should we add? Should we extend it further, this boilerplate, or should we make it as clean as it is now? But anyhow, more on this in the next stream. This was a good one, Sebastian. A lot of stuff we've covered here. So it's a front end, it's business logic, it's rendering, it's servers. It's a lot of stuff. But you have the boilerplate. Take your time. You can review the code, run it locally. We'll come with an updated version soon. We'll do a live stream on that, and then we will talk more about the not so happy paths. How do you handle failures, etc. If you want to check that out, please subscribe, as Didrik says, and again join our Slack community. And let's see you in the next one.